You know, like, it goes for everybody, but I use the people in the psych ward, the workers, the nurses, and even the TAs, the treatment assistants. I don't know what TA stands for. I think that's what it stands for, but they keep them very busy with work, paperwork, tons of paperwork. They always got a clipboard. Uh, they're always doing the count. They count where you are. Every 15 minutes they have to say you're in the TV room or you're in the bathroom, wherever you are. Every 15 minutes they gotta record it. Probably Medicaid rules. You know, that's why they have to do it. And make sure you didn't escape, which is virtually impossible. So I don't see the point in that. But the nurses, they have tons of paperwork and computer work to do, besides hand out meds and all the nurse jobs they have to do. And I don't care where you work. If you work at McDonald's, you work in an accounting firm, you work in a law firm, you work anywhere. They always keep you busy, 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 busy. And whatever job you're on, you got 5 more waiting for you. If you work at McDonald's and you're doing an order, you got 5 more orders right behind that. And you got to keep going. You can't stop. And some places, even like Amazon, you can't even go to the bathroom. You have to piss in a bottle because you can't. The bathroom's way across the warehouse. You can't walk all the way there, come all the way back, just take a leak, and you do it in a bottle and keep going and make sure the orders keep going and constantly going, no break whatsoever. And I tell the nurses, I'm like, they do this on purpose to keep you stupid, to keep you so busy you can't talk to your coworkers. You can't have a conversation with your coworkers on once in a while, of course they can, but it's so brief, it's so short, it's such mundane conversation because you can't get into a deep conversation with them because you don't have time. And nobody wants to start a deep conversation in here. I gotta go in the middle of it, so it just sets up the scenario that, you're always busy. And I tell the nurses, I say, you should go on YouTube and bring up that song from The Wizard of Oz, I Wish I Had a Brain. And play the song and sing the song all day long as a mantra. Because that's you. That's you. You wish you had a brain. They don't make a lot of money. And one thing with nursing is you don't really get any overtime. They have so many nurses to cover the shifts. And unless one calls in sick, the chance that you getting those hours is slim to none. But once in a while you get overtime, but it's not like working as a cop where they live off overtime. You don't get overtime. And the TAs, they get a lot of overtime. They get forced overtime. They get mandated. They get lots of overtime. But they don't complain because they have a car they can't afford, an apartment they never see that they can't afford. They don't really do anything. They sit around, sit in a chair and watch people and fill out the clipboard every day, all day long. So, but it's all busy work. It's all busy work. It's all bullshit. The law firms, the accounting firms, the hospitals. It's very rare you see someone sitting around saying, I got nothing to do. And if they do, they get fired. So, for a big reason, they don't say it even if it's true. I know when I worked in this city, some guys would walk around with a blank piece of paper and act like they were busy. They weren't. They had nothing to do. But they'd walk around with the blank piece of paper, act like they were reading it, like it meant something. Like nobody's going to ask them what they're doing because they're busy. They look busy. You have to look busy, but the appearance out that you look busy, you know. But it's all a game. It's all bullshit. It's all keeping you in your box. Keeping you in your box. I don't want you to talk about how much money you make. Everybody makes different amounts of money. The ones that work the most get the least. So that's why they really don't want you talking. Some people are afraid to take vacation because they might come back to no job. But it's a slave world. It's a slave world. And I'm not a slave. I'm nobody's slave. Not even God's slave. God doesn't treat me like a slave. He treats me like an equal. And that's why I think if I ever did become famous or was put in a spotlight situation, I think I am famous now. I think a lot of people know who I am and that I'm here. But it's not on the evening news or the late show. But that's okay. I don't care. But I think if I was, I don't think I'd be what you expect me to be. I wouldn't fall in line with everybody else that's on the late show. I wouldn't be that average late show guest. I wouldn't be that average news story, I'd be something totally unpredictable, and that might be good. That might be working for me, to be unpredictable, to be something totally different. And that's what TV wants, that's the whole they want. They want something different. But, I'd be funny. I'm sure I'd be funny. I'd be ironic, God tells me that everybody around me goes to the gym and pumps iron, runs on the treadmill. And I sit around and pump irony, I look for the ironic parts of life. And that's my weapon. Irony is very powerful as a weapon. It's very powerful. It makes people look at their lives the way they never looked at them before. In some of my videos, you'll see a lot of irony in them. And that's what I do. It's philosophy. It's a different way of looking at philosophy. So, but I don't know. I don't think I'd be what you expect me to be. I know I'm Jesus, but I don't think I'd be the Jesus. It wouldn't be the Jesus that you know, that you read about in the Bible. It wouldn't be like that. And I think in that way it would be disappointing because you have this built-up idea in your head of what Jesus is and what he's going to be like when he comes back and all that. And I wouldn't be any of those things. But, it's just... And I don't want to be. I don't want to be. I'm not auditioning. I'm not trying to get a part in a play. I'm not writing a screenplay. I'm not directing a movie. I'm just being myself, And if you don't like that, well, that's not my problem. I mean, part of my power is that I have nothing. And they can't do anything to me because they have nothing to take. If I had a wife and kids and a house and a car, they would use all of that against me. They would say, well, if you don't do X, Y, Z, we're going to take your job away and you're going to lose your house, your car, your wife and kids, So they put a gun to my wife's head and say, do this or else. I don't have a wife, so there's no wife to put the gun to. I have no kids. There's no kid to put the gun to. And for a big part of it, that's why I don't have a wife and kids, because I never wanted to put myself in a position where I could be blackmailed or could be coerced into doing something I don't want to do. I'm free. I'm free, and there's a price for freedom, and that's part of it. But I'm not just free, I'm a warrior, and I fight the system. I break down the system. I expose the system. And when you do that, the system fights back. And that's why I'm in a psych ward, and that's why I went to jail, and all those things. And when you have a wife and kids and a house and a car, going to jail isn't something you want to do. Going to a psych ward isn't something you want to do. You know, so it's kind of along those lines. You know, they can control you, they can manipulate you. You're in a box, and they keep you in that box. You know, you're a family. You're in the family box. I have no family. I'm not in a family box. So I don't go to McDonald's and get the kids' meal with the little box. So those kind of people, they don't worry about those people. They got them wrapped. They're wrapped, sealed, and delivered. They're not going away. They're not going to cause any trouble. It's easy peasy. But me, I'm unpredictable. They don't know what to do. They're afraid if I get on to the Late Show, what I'll say and what I'll do. You know, I'm sort of like a Robin Williams in a way, and I idolize Robin Williams because of what he was. But I'm not like Robin Williams, because Robin Williams was a comedian, and I'm not a comedian. And I would never act or even try to act like Robin Williams. But one thing Robin Williams was, and what I would be along the lines of, is I would be unpredictable, and Robin Williams was unpredictable. They never knew what he was going to say next, you know. But, and that's me. They don't know. If I'm recording this video 5 minutes from now, and if it lasts that much longer, which I don't know that it will, I have no idea what I'm going to say when that clock hits 17 minutes. I have no idea what I'm going to say. Yeah. But I don't pre-plan like that. That's why I'm authentic. That's why I'm real, because I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm not trying to twist fate in my direction. I'm letting it happen on its own. If it wants to go my direction, that's fine. If it doesn't, that's fine. If you want to come to my side, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. I don't work for you. I work for God. And God put me here for this reason. And has me doing the things I'm doing for this reason. If I was like Robin Williams, I wouldn't be a good one. Because Robin Williams was Robin Williams. I can't be my Robin Williams. And I don't plan to, you know, it's like George Clooney. I can't be George Clooney. And I'm never going to try. You know. So I'm me, and I'm always going to be me. And that makes me real, and that makes me authentic. And George Clooney and Robin Williams, even though they were great people or are great people, they're not real. They're not authentic. They make you think they are, but they're not. When that camera goes on, there's a different person. You know, Robin Williams was an alcoholic. You would never know that by looking at his videos and all his tapes. Yeah. You weren't surprised when you found out, but it wasn't that obvious. He wasn't like Dean Martin on TV, you know, drunk and all that. So, but, you know, the funny thing about Dean Martin, I did his record sales when I worked for EMI Records, and he was on Capitol Records. His albums were on Capitol Records, and I did his royalties, and I found out he never touched alcohol. All that drunk on TV was all an act. It was all an act. He played the drunk guy. Some people play the straight guy. He played the drunk guy. That was just it. That was all an act. But he did it well. He did it really well. Nobody knew he didn't drink. They all thought he was a drunk, and he wasn't a drunk. So, again, if I'm wrong about that, that's what I know. That's what I believe. That's what I heard. That's what I believe about Dean Martin. If I'm wrong, well, so be it. I don't care, but it makes sense that he wouldn't be a drunk and he played a drunk on TV. How many people are a doctor on TV and they couldn't put a Band-Aid on you, but they can play a emergency room doctor? When the TV is involved, and that's why I'm not looking to be on TV. This isn't TV. This is real. I don't have a director. I don't have a producer. I don't have a ratings, a way of checking my ratings. I don't have the commercials or anything like that. So it's much different. Nobody tells me what to say or what not to say. Nobody's going to fire me if I say something they don't like or it doesn't go along with their politics. So that's why I'm not going to be your average person that you're used to. And it's going to take some getting used to. At first it might seem exciting. It might be just something different and refreshing in that way. But then there's the pressure to keep that alive and keep that going and always coming up with something new. Like when I make these videos, I try not to copy myself and do things I've already done. Sometimes I do, of course, and then there's a reason for that. And I let it go. But I try not to. I won't talk about the cat and the pile of wood. I don't think I'll talk about that again. But I might if I have a reason to. But that was another video. That was another time. But I don't know. My roommate that in my house that I'm sharing this house with is blind. So, when you live at my level, this is the kind of people you live with. And he's a great guy. He's a very nice man. I don't have an iPad. I have an iPad at my mother's house, and I have to go through some kind of crap to get the password and open it and all that, so I don't have it. And I didn't bring it here because I'm on a trial visit. But he offered me his iPad. You want an iPad? I got one. I turned him down. I'm like, no. But, he's very nice. He offered me his food. He's going to cook for me. And I'm like, no. I'm fine. I go to a little restaurant around the corner and get a cheeseburger and stuff. Because it's a week trial visit, I'm not buying food. I'm not going to get into cooking and all that stuff. I don't want to touch this stuff. I don't know anything, and I just don't want to open those doors. So for now, it's all okay. But it's very nice. And another man lives here too. He's from Pilgrim as well, and he seems very nice. Very, you can talk to him. So, that, I don't know. I don't know how many people I'm talking to right this minute, or how many people are going to watch this video, but I don't think many of you live with two other guys, and one of them blind, and we're all poor, paying low rent, and he uses Able Ride, which is like a charity taxi, and we go to soup kitchens, or not soup kitchens, but soup pantries and stuff, food pantries, stuff like that. So, it goes with the territory, That's why a lot of people in Brooklyn deal drugs, because everybody deals drugs. So, there aren't too many jobs that these people can't get. So dealing drugs is, you don't have to fill out an application to deal drugs. So that's the problem. Being black puts you on top of the list, not at the bottom of the list like it does at other jobs. So there's that factor too. So, the problem is you're pre-predicting what I'm going to do, what I'm going to say, and how I'm going to act, and all these other things, and how you're going to feel about what I say and what I act and what I do. And you just can't do it because I'm unpredictable. I'm not controllable, and you have no idea what I'm going to say next. Like I said, I don't. The 5 minutes on the tape, I passed that 5 minutes. I don't know what I said. You have to go back and listen to it. But I wasn't planning on saying whatever I said the 5 minutes before when I said it. So But it wasn't anything bad. It wasn't anything wrong. It wasn't a lie. Probably could be in the paper tomorrow. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't care either. So, it's like Anne Frank. She wrote that diary. She didn't know it was going to be one of the most famous diaries of the Holocaust. She was just writing down her thoughts, doing her thing, trying to survive, getting through the day without getting killed. And, one day she did get killed. So, she didn't know that. She didn't write in the diary, "I'm gonna die tomorrow. They're gonna find me tomorrow." She didn't write that in the diary. She wrote, "I hope they don't find me tomorrow." And they did. So, and God was working through her as well. And though she died, doesn't mean God wasn't working with her. God doesn't look at death like you or I or other people look at death. He saved her from hell. Killing her was mercy. So, and the Bible, the diary was her way of living on and getting vindication and having her memory last forever. The Anne Frank house in Austria, wherever it is, will always be there. From what I hear, it's not much to see. It's a little upstairs attic, but it'll always be there. You can pay money to go see it. You can buy the diary, I'm sure, on Amazon. I'm sure you can go to Amazon and buy the diary. So, and I think if you put Anne Frank on the Colbert Show, she wouldn't be what you expect. She wouldn't have the attitudes you expect her to have. Like, she wouldn't probably hate the Germans. She'd probably feel sorry for them. And you'd be like, how would you feel sorry for somebody that treated you like that? But, I do. I feel sorry for the people that treat me bad. I feel sorry for my mother, who's a narcissist. She's a narcissist. She doesn't have a happy day in her life. She makes everybody around her miserable. That's sad. I can get mad, but that's only stabbing myself in the stomach because of what she did. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Getting mad at the correctional officers at the jail I just came from. Why? I feel sorry for them. They have to sit in that jail all day long. I left. I was there for 2 months. I left. I'll go back there in 10 years, and that guy will still be sitting in that chair talking about his pension. That when he gets it, it's not going to be enough. So, I feel sorry for people like that. I don't hate them. I don't vilify them. I don't wish to be like them, but hating them is, when you hate someone, you just hate yourself. You're hating yourself, not anybody else. They go to sleep at night and you're up all night. They don't care what you think. And when they find out you hate them, they're like, "You hate me? Why you hate me? What'd I do?" And you're like, "Must we know what you did?" It's like, "No, I don't. Why don't you just explain it?" And when they explain it, you're like, "Oh, that wasn't me. I never did that. You have me confused with somebody else." Don't hate people. Don't feel sorry for them. Accept them for who they are and where they are. Accept them. Yeah, it's so hard to change your life and change who you are. So it's even harder for you to change them and change who they are. So don't even try. That's God's job. Don't do God's job. That's God's job. It's not your job. Bye.